Today we're with my friend Danny Paolini. Danny is with the Seattle Mariners organization, and I want him to talk about his experiences in minor league baseball, how he got where he is today, and what the future holds. Give you an insight not only on what he's doing in pro ball, but the process he goes through, what happens playing minor league baseball, and also how he got there. So Dan, let's start with that. Can you just give us a background? I know you went to Siena College and you led the nation in home runs D1. Can you kind of elucidate on that? Give us some detail on that.
Yeah, I went to Siena College out of Bunnell High School in Stratford, Connecticut. Loved it, great small private school, and I was a little nervous going in. Didn't really know what to expect with the whole Division I or just Division as a college kid going in with all the academics and stuff. So I was a little nervous. So during the fall season, as a freshman, I would say I kind of struggled, but the coach still said I was going to start and stuff. I think it was just the seniors and everyone it was very overwhelming for me right when I got there. And I really didn't have a good fall, but then spring came around my freshman year and I kind of just took off from there. The game started and I was back in my happy place, and I finished off my freshman year with hitting .430 with 11 home runs.
Wow.
I was a freshman All-American, and that earned me the honor to go to the Cape next year. And then my sophomore year just kind of came about, and I didn't consider myself a home run hitter. And sophomore year came, first game, home run, and it kind of just took off from there. And as you kept on looking online or stuff, my name was always in the top 10 of the home runs list. And in college, it's only like a 52-game season, 56-game season, depending on the weather, especially here in the Northeast with the snow. And little by little, the balls kept on going over the fence, and I started to get more national recognition because of my home runs. And yeah, it turned out great, and I ended up with 26, and that really put my name on the map and got me into Baseball America, and did a whole thing for me, and had the scouts coming to see me in my junior year.
Right. I want to touch just briefly on a couple things about your personal situation. Is you were an all-around athlete. That's a big deal right now with these kids. Is that we're in these AAU things, and it's not just baseball's guilty of this. All sports are guilty of this. And one of the things I point out is, look, only 5% of high school players are going to play in college at any level. And also, you become a better athlete. And you played other sports, number one. Number two, you were actually a pitcher. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, first off, I think playing other sports like basketball, football, soccer, and anything is going to help you in the game of baseball. I'm a big believer of that. With your athleticism, your instincts, and your whole total mindset, I think if you just focus on one sport, especially at a young age where you don't even know if that's your forte, then I think it makes a huge advantage until you realize when it comes to the time, all right, maybe baseball is the best sport. But that's a decision you can make when you're 16 or 17 years old, not when you're 13.
Junior year.
Yeah.
Junior year is about the time you need to make that decision.
Yeah, and going on the pitching thing, yeah, I loved the pitch back in the day. I used to love just competing and going out for the team as me being the guy in charge and to help the team to victory. And my freshman and sophomore year, as I was starting to grow and getting a little older in high school, I started to really have some velo on my fastball. And I never took a hitting lesson, or I used to always take pitching lessons. I used to love the pitch, and I was hitting 88 my sophomore year, and I started to have some big-time D1 colleges coming at me. And then, a freak accident in gym class, I slipped on some mud on a post route playing football, and tore my labrum, so I had to go through that whole process of surgery and rehab and stuff like that. Everything went well, but when I came back, I wasn't the same pitcher. I didn't have the same velo, and anybody that knows about torn labrums, it's kind of a deadly injury for pitchers. And because of that, I skipped my junior year of varsity basketball, and I had to focus on hitting because I needed to get to school to play baseball. So.
Well, there's another thing I want to. So, I mean, I think this is a great thing for the kids and the parents to think about is, I mean, I always go with this. First off, 5%, that's number one. Number two, that they don't realize the time commitment and what it takes to play even at that level, at the college level. And second of all, like you said, it makes you a better athlete. Your athleticism was what it was able to. You were able to take yourself as a pitcher. you're excited about that, you're passionate about that, but you were able to take that, your overall athleticism, and turn yourself into a hitter. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about, because I've talked privately with you about this, is development. You know, all you kids out there that don't make your teams, you know, it's not the end of the world. There's you know, because especially in that age range, 14, 15, 16, so many things going on just with their bodies. They're changing their hand-eye coordination, their strength levels are changing almost daily. And you were already a college baseball player. And you, like you said, you were a little intimidated by the process and by the environment, but you continued to develop, and all of a sudden, boom, it took off. Now, how do you feel about that, about the idea of just developing and getting better?
Yeah, I didn't really know the type of player I really was in high school. I didn't have any college coaches coming to recruit me. I knew I was a good player. I was one of the best on my team, but I wasn't doing anything extra to the point where people said, hey, like reaching out for me as a player. No, it was mainly on my own, playing the game and for fun. And like you said, my athleticism kind of made me into the player, but I was very raw. I just didn't really have any technique or anything. I was just very athletic.
Can I interrupt you just for a second on that? I'm not diminishing Siena. In fact, kids come to me. I have had kids come to me and they say, I don't want to play Division III baseball. I'm like, geez, you know. But Siena is not Southern Cal or Georgia or anything else. I mean, the important thing, and I'm relaying your experience to what these kids are going to ask, you know, that was an opportunity for you to go someplace and compete and get better.
Yes.
And you and I have, you know, friends in common, Bobby Derula, you know, guys like this that made right choices because they didn't necessarily go to a big school. They went to someplace where they could play and get better. And that's how do you feel about that?
I think that's very important. You know, so many people are so wrapped up with going to a big time school, but necessarily that might not be the best thing for you, because one, you don't get on the field, and that's the number one thing. You have to be on the field. I knew I was going to be on the field from day one as a freshman coming in, so that was huge. I wanted to play. I didn't want to sit. And plus two, if I say I went to a University of Florida or a USC as a freshman and I didn't hit as well as my freshman year. I didn't hit 430. I hit 260. You know, then it's different. Then now my sophomore year I hit 280, and then all right, my junior year I hit 300. Yeah, maybe I get drafted, but here at Siena I got to really put myself on the map to the point because I had so much success when it was more around the competition was mid-major, just like a mid-major school would be. But I think you
might have gone, in fairness, factoring development, you might have gone to one of those big schools, hit 260, hit 270, then the next year, but this puts you at a competitive level where you could, boom, make a splash
right away. And then it also gave me more confidence. It gave me, because don't get me wrong, Siena's a good school to the point where we went and played the best competition, and my coach was always really big on that. Yeah, we'd start the year off like 2-15, and people were like, why are you going down? And I still believe in this, is because at a school like Siena, you're not going to get an at-large bid to go play in the NCAA tournament. You got to win your conference tournament to get in. That's it. That's any school in the MAC.
Right.
And so you go to the nice stadiums in front of a lot of fans and play the best competition. And then I always had fun in that. I always saw it as a competitiveness of, wow, you know, these schools didn't want me, they didn't think I belonged, let me go out there and compete. And I actually did better against those schools than I did in my conference, because they didn't know anything about me. But after my freshman year, now the conference knew everything about me, so I had to adjust from seeing fastballs to seeing pick and choosing when to hit and when not to hit.
Again, it's the factor of going to a place where you're able to develop and get better. You know, I tell kids all the time, go someplace where you're gonna. Oh, one other thing too is that it's a whole experience.
Yeah.
You know, you're playing AAA. You know, you're at that. You're right at that brink on the bubble, ready to go to the next level. But when you went there, it was a total thing. It wasn't. It was the school also. You know, this is another thing. Don't go just for baseball.
Yeah.
Absolutely do not. I tell kids, the first thing a coach is going to look at is your grades.
Yeah.
You need to think of what are you going to study. What are you going to be happy and productive there? Baseball actually should be fifth on the list.
Yeah.
Be in an environment. You know, you didn't go there not thinking that you were going to become a professional baseball. You went there going, I'm going to get a scholarship and have an experience.
Exactly. That's exactly Correct. I went because I needed some money to go help my parents get me into college, and I was like, look at this, I get to go get a degree and play baseball on the side because I love the game. I had no intentions of going in thinking I was going to be
Right.
the 10th round pick by the Seattle Mariners in 2011. No, I went because it was a small private school that fit
Right.
me. I loved the scenery, I loved the campus, I loved the fact that the baseball field was right in the middle. Coach was super friendly and straightforward, honest guy, and it was just a good fit for me.
Exactly.
That's what made me also enjoy playing the game of baseball so more because I knew I was at the right place. I knew I was out of my comfort zone. Once I started to adapt and get used to the everyday lifestyle of it, baseball was just second to none. Then I didn't have to worry about my grades or because I was already being successful everywhere else and comfortable everywhere else. Now I was able to be comfortable in the batter's box.
I had an experience with a kid who turned out to be an All-American, two-time All-American Division III. He was recruited by 30 schools, ended up at a real high level D2 program, was miserable,
Mm-hmm.
and dropped and flunked out of school, all this kind of stuff. And the first question I asked him, I said, "Are you happy? If you're not happy in that environment with your studies and all that kind of stuff, then you're certainly not going to be productive on a baseball field." Now let's jump ahead to the next thing. Tell us what you're doing right now. You've been at AA, AAA, and what's going on right. Tell us about that experience because I know this is your 5th year of pro ball. So tell us about that experience.
Once you get to Double A and Triple A, then I would consider that professional baseball. That's when you start to go and travel to big time cities, playing bigger stadiums with bigger fans. They treat you better. You know, people carry your luggage on and off the bus to the clubhouse and take your clothes out, hang them up. And so that's when you're like, wow, now I'm in professional baseball. You know, in the lower levels, it's kind of like, whoa, this is professional baseball, and you kind of looking around like this is not all what it was meant to be as a kid, you know, playing wiffle ball in the backyard or something. But Double A is I first got called up in Double A in 2013, I think it was. It was only for like a month and a week, and it was a big eye opener. It was just like I said, when I ever go to a new thing, I'm always uncomfortable at first, and then I feel like that affects me a lot. So I struggled that first month. So now I got to go back to Double A for a full season. I knew my surroundings, I knew what to expect, and I was comfortable, and I did very well. And went back to Double A for the 3rd year, did very well again. Got the call up to Triple A, and then now here we are again in a whole new situation where I got to get accustomed to it, and I don't really know what to expect. So I'm hoping this year I get the chance to go back to. I didn't do so well in AAA, so I'm hoping I get to go back to AAA, so I'm now accustomed and comfortable and can get a whole full year under my belt there to see what I can actually do there. The big difference between AAA and AA is though, AAA you got a lot of old veterans and older guys that been around the game, maybe in the big leagues for a couple years or two, then bounce around up and down, and very good baseball players. If you're in AAA, you're there for a reason. You're a very good baseball player. And AA, you got a lot of the young prospects for each organization who are supposed to be the next big guys in the big leagues. So you got a lot of raw talent there, a lot of big arms throwing some really good velocity down the fastball, some really nasty breaking stuff, and you just got to compete. But each level has all its pros and cons, and all its competitive edges too.
We have a fact. We do some stuff with Pete Tucci, and I ran into Pete when he was with the Blue Jays.
Mm-hmm.
And he, sorry all you Yankee fans, but he said the Yankees are thinking of trading for me, and he said I hope to Christ they don't do that because I'll be lost in that organization. And I want you to talk a little. This is stuff that the average fan doesn't, but there is that stuff that goes on, right?
Oh,
I mean, there
yeah.
is. It's a lot about the money, and it's a lot about perception. It's think of the guy that's in AAA with the Yankees, and Jeter was at shortstop.
Yeah.
I mean, you're probably in the manager's office every day going, trade me. Right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's like we always say, you just need the right opportunity, and you need a little luck. When I first got drafted by the Seattle Mariners, they were the organization to be in. So a lot of the guys that were drafted in the first to 5 rounds, because it was the organization was rebuilding, they actually made the big leagues within the first year or two because we really didn't have anybody. So by the time I got to Double A, 2 years in, they got the Canoes, and so now it's kind of like, man, if I had 2 years before then when they were more on the rebuilding stage and the success I was having in the minor leagues, maybe it would have been different. But now Seattle's fighting to make the playoffs, signing big Nelson Cruz and Robinson Cano and these big name guys. Now it's kind of like the organization where you want to say, is this really the right fit for me now? Or so.
Can I ask you something odd, just off the top of my head with that? Can you control that destiny at all? You can't really.
No,
you
can't control it till.
I mean, I'm sure that there's a ton of players out there that go, man, if I was with our mutual friend Bobby DeRula told me that. He said he made mistakes signing with organizations because he said if I had looked for, an organization that, that was a fit for me. And this is so important also for you kids. It's so important. We're talking about a college, everything else. It's a fit. It's a place that you can.
A place that wants you and needs you and is willing to have you. Like I would say the Phillies right now are a great organization to be in. They're rebuilding. That's why you're going to see a lot of young guys up there, and who knows, a lot of no-name guys that you probably never even heard of, and then they make it to the big leagues, and you know what? They make a splash right away, and then 2 years down the road, they're signing these big contracts, and now they're a name. But that's what I'm saying about. There's a lot of big-time talent players that I've seen never even get the chance because there's always somebody in front of them, and they never just got that chance. And back to the point where can I control anything like that? No, I can't, because it's their decision. No matter how good I could play, I could hit 400 no matter every year, and if they still don't think I'm ready, then I'm not ready.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, that's tough.
That's really tough. Well, I want to come back to that because I want to talk about some of the politics that go on in the clubhouse and everything. But let's get to two things. During the season, we were just talking about this a moment ago. You got a 7:00 game. What time do you show up? I know what you're going to say. That's like a 10 or 12 hour day, isn't it?
Yeah, it's 10, 12 hour day, and I'll say at a home game, we got a 7:00 game. I'll get to the field at 12:31. I probably have Subway with me or some kind of lunch. Eat it really quick, get changed, and then my first thing on the field is probably at like 2:00. Whether it be early work for fly balls, early work for ground balls, extra hitting in the cages, depending on the hitting coach whether they want you there or not. And then maybe get like a 20-minute rest, and then now you got BP on the field, and it's not just sit around, take swings. No, you have groups of 3, and if you're not one of the groups that are hitting, you're taking more ground balls or you're taking more fly balls. So it's kind of like a whole hour-and-a-half preparation practice in the beating sun before the game, and then let's say that gets done at 5, then the opposing team will obviously take the field and hit, and they do that till about 6:15. So that's our like pre-game meal before the game. So we have like an hour downtime, and then you get dressed for the game and get out there for 6:15, 6:20, stretch, get loose, and play 9 innings, and then ends at 11:30. Go home, do it all over again.
Wow. Yeah, it's appropriately called a grind.
Yeah, very much so.
And mentally, I have to, see kids. Everybody wants, and the big thing in the instructional industry, and with the high school kids is of course they all have that image of I want to play and everything, but they don't realize how tough it is. Even at the college level, the first thing I say when a kid comes into me is, you do know this is 5 hours a day, and see what you're saying. This is 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day at the professional level, and it's all. And really, the game itself constitutes about 10% of what you do.
Yeah.
It's all preparation, and we talk about this all the time. It's all preparation and adjustment, isn't it?
Yeah, very very much so. I mean, everything that the game itself kind of just. It all falls into effect, if that makes sense. Everything you do around it, and the develop, like we always say, minor league baseball is all about development. All that stuff takes into effect into the game. At some point or another, baseball, like you always say, it always averages itself out. And so the development aspect of it kind of takes place, and the games, and that's when it's your time to kind of like put all that away, though. And then it's up to you. The coaches and everything else can't really help you anymore. So then it's all left on your shoulders, and then like baseball, say you have a bad game, okay, then you they come back and they're there to help you develop for the next game.
So this is, anybody in any job that did 10, 12 hours would be tired. It's just a long day, period.
Especially in the beating sun in 95
I don't
degree
care
weather.
I don't care if you're sitting in a chair in an office. 10, 12 hours is a long day. So you got a long physical day. Now, and here's the most important element of this. It's all mental. I mean, you kids out there hear us talk about this all the time, but it's all mental, and it's really grinding, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it starts, and like, that's what they always, whatever those quotes, I forget who it was, it's 10% physical, 90% mental, and that's completely true. I mean, if you don't have it up here and you don't think you could do it, or you don't visualize yourself doing it, then you probably won't do it. I've seen so many talented guys who just have the most physical athletic ability I've ever seen, or raw talent, that just don't get it up here, that never pan out.
I knew a guy that was first string All-American at Kentucky, and he actually made it to the big leagues. And he said, I said, well, why? What happened? He said, I couldn't. He said, I could do it for 120 games in the minor leagues. I could not do it for. He just, I could not stay sharp for 162 games. It's a long season. It's a grind.
Yeah, you get 142 for minor league, 162 for the big league. Just talk about monotonous every day, doing something over and over again. Yeah, whether you're at a desk job or playing 9 innings on a baseball field, you literally go through the same routine every day. Whether you get to the ballpark same day, you eat the same thing, you get stretched the same time, you take a pregame protein shake. I mean, every day is the same routine to just get you ready for that 9 innings, and then you have to give it 100% for those 9 innings. And everyone knows the game of baseball, it's not an easy game. You're going to fail more times than you succeed. So the whole thing mentally gets into your head. It's like, wow, what am I really doing? All I am doing is just failing for 12 hours. And it's hard to mentally stay focused and still have that drive and compassion for the game of baseball.
Right. Now let's switch gears for a second here. Okay, you're leaving for spring training on Saturday. So what have you done? So you've been off for how long, and what have you done during that time?
Let's see, my season ended in mid-September. So took about 3 weeks, month off to myself. So about mid-October, I started really getting back into work. I was like, well, here's the off season again. I got to start to get better. Every day, got to get better at something. And this year was kind of tough for me because this is going into my 5th year. So I had to try to get better with a work schedule, an everyday work schedule. And but then
now tell them what that means. I know what that means. You tell them what that means.
So like my off-season job, I was working for as a lawyer, almost as like a paralegal, kind of doing some paperwork for him, copying.
I sorry to interrupt, but see, I want to. That's what you got to do.
That's
this is not all about I'm going to sleep till noon and go to the gym, and I got to go to the gym in addition to working a job.
Exactly. My first 2 years of pro ball, I was lucky enough to have a big enough signing bonus, so I was able to do that. Wake up, go to the gym, hit for 2 hours, and then relax at home and play video games with my friend. But slowly but surely, money don't last forever, and so now I gotta make money some way, somehow. So now you're doing the everyday 9 to 5 work schedules, wearing suits and ties. It's just helping me to get by, so I can. But I also got to still prepare for my real job, which is to play baseball and try to fulfill my dream and make the big league. So now I'm working almost 9 to 5, and I also got to factor in my BP time to work on my craft, and then my strength time to get stronger.
So you got a full-time job. Now what is how much do you hit? How much do you work out during the off season? Let's just divide, let's do skill work and then strength, conditioning, speed, agility. Just easy like that.
I would say I would hit maybe three to 4 times out of a 7-day week if I could. Some weeks depending whether I'm out of town or not. And then workout wise, I would try to get in like 3 to 4 times. It's always like whatever day I'm hitting, I'm usually working out too. I try to kill two birds with one stone, and then the next day, I'm 9 to 5 job, I'm too tired or too lazy, and then next day I'll get back into it. So I'm trying to work day off.
Now with that ascension, also that first year, second year, third year, fourth year, just out of curiosity, is there a specific thing you're working on this year?
No, because I remember 2 years ago. Or was it last year? I think it was actually last year. 2 years ago. They told me I got to start hitting the ball the opposite, drive the ball the opposite way more with more power, and so the whole off season I really worked on hitting the ball to the opposite field and trying to hit not just spray singles in the 4-hole or loopy line drives over second. No, I'm trying to hit the ball in the gaps, one hopping the wall or for home runs. So my whole off season I really worked on that, and I think I got a lot better at it, and which has helped me now hitting the outside pitch and driving the ball, but nothing to the point where they actually really wanted me to drive the ball. So it actually took me out of what my strength was driving the ball to left or left field, and I kind of went into the with such high expectations that I'm going to be peppering balls off the walls and at all fields, and in reality, it just never happened. And so then eventually you have to turn to what you're comfortable with and what your strength is. So I had to go back to my strength, which was driving the ball to my pull side.
I would comment, whether it's a fair comment or not, that it's not necessarily a negative to have acquired that skill, though, don't you
No,
think?
that's why I said I think it's helped me to the point where I can now cover. I'm more comfortable with covering both sides of the plate.
That you'd be a better overall
hitter.
Right.
But the power side to the opposite field is still about what the same it was before I started working on it. But I'm more comfortable and more polished, if that makes sense, on driving the ball the other way.
Absolutely. I kind of want to finish off with a reality check also, because you and I've talked about this, and I know what goes on, and the kids out there, they don't understand the politics, how money influences perception, and you and I have had a lot of conversations about this. Can you without naming names, what give us some examples of what goes on with this kind of stuff?
Lucky enough for me, I was a 10th rounder. That doesn't sound too high or too low. It's the first 10 rounds. Let's just say 1 through 10. You realistically have a shot in their minds. If you're a top 10 rounder, they invested money in you, depending whether it was $1 million or $5 million or $100,000. Anything after the 10 rounds, and I'm being realistic here, you really got to prove yourself, because anything after the 10 rounds, you're taking a backseat to someone, whether it's the 8th rounder the year before that was out of high school or the 8th rounder out of college the year before. Whoever has the more money will get the more opportunity to play and given the more opportunity to have success. Whether or not you're the 25th rounder is a better baseball player than him, you got $50,000 as a 25th rounder, and as an 8th rounder you got $450,000.
You know what? I want to kind of jump that idea back to the because that's who's going to be watching this. A lot of college kids and everything.
Yeah.
And that goes to what we're talking about. Go to a school, whether it's you with a pro contract, and somebody you could be hitting. Let's say you hit 295. And the kid that got $4 million hit 230. He's going to get the shot. They're going to give him more time.
It's a business investment.
Yeah, exactly. And the same thing with the college. You can go home and tell your girlfriend, your buddies, hey, I tried out at USC, but better you make and play ball at the D3 school and get a chance to get on the field and play. It's the same type of stuff.
Well, you got to think too. These kids who's getting more scholarships? Is this kid getting a 65% scholarship at USC?
Right.
And you're getting a 15% scholarship at USC. College, yes, but I'll tell you right now, the guy with a 65% will definitely get the first opportunity. But then in college, they're more about winning. So I would give you a better shot in college to play, at least at some position. They'll fit you in somewhere if you could play, because they want to win, but it still has some kind of effect, pro and college.
Now, again, without naming names, because you and I have traded some stories about this. What goes on with some of this stuff, guys? They go 3 for 4 and they pull themselves out of a last at bat, and
it's not even them pulling themselves out of the last at bat. Listen, every organization in professional baseball has the guys, the GMs, the assistant to the GMs, the minor league field coordinator, minor league coordinator. There's big guys running the ship. They're the captain of the ship, and they make the orders. And if an organization has a big prospect, and we're last game of the first half before the All-Star break, and the prospect is hitting 296, and he goes 1 for 3, and that or that jumps him up over 300, the head coach in the dugout will get a call and says, hey, take Dan Paolini out of the game so he can hit 300 for the first half, because 300 looks a lot better than 295. Happens all the time. Players do it. If they didn't get the call, players will do it. I've seen it happen all the time. And then you know what? Oh, I tweaked my ankle. Well, I got $2 million. If the coach says, you're not being tough, you got to stay in there. Now I take a single into a double. Now my tweaked ankle turns into a broken ankle.
Yeah.
The manager's in trouble because he kept them in the game, and their $2 million investment can't play for the rest of the season.
Well, we've talked about people don't understand how difficult the minor leagues is, and it's difficult on those people also, not just you players, but it's difficult because they've got to develop and try to be competitive at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, the kids that get paid the big bucks, in their eyes, they're at some point, at some time, gonna make them play in the big leagues, either for them or for somebody else. So they're gonna get the most chance to develop and the most time on the field to develop, and that's just the facts of life, to be honest. And that's just the way life goes, and that's why you can't. You always hear the saying, "Control what only you can control," and that's what you do. And you gotta bust your butt and hopefully get that chance.
I want to kind of end on one thing, which is a big deal for me, and that's why, again, I'm not dredging up dirt or anything, but I want to talk about what a grind it is, how much work it is, because I'm sure you have too. I see kids that are phenomenal athletes. Yeah. I see people that have the gift, but what really counts, and I'm not painting some kind of metaphysical picture here. I think what really counts is kind of that right combination of the gift and the passion. And I know you still feel this way. You still have the passion for the game, and that because it is so much work and so much effort that's at some where the rubber meets the road. That's what you have to have at some point.
I mean,
now, do you still feel that way after 5 years of not to put you on the spot, but do you still feel that way after 5 years of minor league ball?
Not as much. Not as much. But I'll tell you what, I really worked throughout college and throughout my first 3 or 4 years. I've really put in the work, and I always said, and I remember Michael Jordan or people, like, there's some kid out there doing more work. Like, I didn't want to be that kid that's not doing enough work. So I always wanted to make sure going into whatever season was, my sophomore year in college or my first year of pro ball, that I always had no excuses that I wasn't ready, because I always put in the work. But then you put in the work year after year after year and after year, and it's kind of, so now I kind of feel like my feet are kind of stuck in concrete, and I kind of have nowhere to go. And it's like, man, like, all that hard work that I did before used to pay off. It used to always get me to where I wanted to go. And now I've been kind of, stuck, and I haven't got over that speed bump. And it's tough to continue to still have that drive as you start to get later on in your career, and you start to wonder if, like, is my dream really going to happen? Am I going to fulfill this? Or, does life have something else in store for me? So yeah, the passion's still there. My drive's still there. Believe me, I still want to fulfill my dream. I've been doing it for my whole life. Why quit now? But not as much as before.
Well, but also, athletically, and we could be talking about somebody with a musical instrument. All of a sudden, you click at that next level. Athletically, all of a sudden, like you talked about, all that work on that outside pitch and driving the ball the opposite field, all of a sudden, just that last click on the dial, clicks in, sets in, and you take it to that next level. And then even with that, there are still, like you said, there are still all these factors that deal with the organization and all this stuff, the timing of it, that allows you to either make it or not.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's not always in your hands. I mean, I can go and click, but even when I'm clicking on all cylinders, it's still not up to me, and it's my destiny is put into your hands, and it's up to you to fulfill my destiny. But in their eyes, maybe I'll never be. In their mind, maybe they'll never see me as a big leaguer. No matter what's clicking, they just think I'm not a big leaguer. But it's funny because I've played against tons of guys that are big leaguers now and that I've had more success in or did better in the same league or something like that. So it's tough almost to watch TV and see these guys in the big leagues making a bunch load of money and I've outperformed them. But because of who they are or their background and their reputation of who they are, they got the chance or they've got given that opportunity because, you know, they've always been a name on the front cover but not on the back cover.
Well, a lot of it is perception, and just like we keep saying, also that person, that player with that perception is going to be given more chances
That's all it is.
To fail. I get a kick out of these high school coaches or these youth coaches. You know, Johnny goes 0 for 12, and they go, "You didn't take up lacrosse."
Mm-hmm.
And I say, you know, when I do a clinic, I think, guys, do you watch big league baseball? You see these, you know, they'll say somebody's in a slump, he's 2 for 40, but he gets 600 at bats.
Yeah, I mean, it's a long season. Slumps are going to happen in baseball. That's where we talk about mental. Something's just mentally not clicking for you. Your swing's not necessarily not different. Your approach necessarily isn't different, but then maybe your confidence level is low or you're having problems at home or something. Maybe it's just a little bit off that's causing this slump. Or you just, for me, it's always a confidence thing. But yeah, I mean, so it's tough to accept. It's tough to swallow.
Last thing I'm going to ask you, because all players at every level do, what do you do? Is there something that you do, a mental trigger that you regain that confidence? I know that there's a pretty prominent guy, a long toss guy, consults with a lot of major league teams, named Alan Jaeger, is a friend of mine. And he does some mental stuff too, and what he does when he advises, he says, you just, all that's drama, you know, just focus on, you know, 1 or 2 action commands and get you. Is there something you can leave with the kids when, you know, we all fail at this and other things in life too? Is there something when you're in a slump that you, a key that you use as a trigger for that?
Yeah, I'm a big visualization guy. Whether I'm in a slump or whether I'm hitting good, I'm really big on visualization. If I'm in a slump, I take it back to a point where I hit a big home run, in a 3-run spot, and I just can visualize that, and seeing the ball going over the fence, and kind of restores my confidence a little bit. Any way to slow the game down as best as possible, and not make the game more faster than it is, whether it's taking deep breaths or you know, counting my breaths, or just something just to slow it down and stay calm. Is something that I really try to do, because there's times I get in the box and it's like I had 10 cups of coffee. I'm like shaking up there because my first at bat I'm always shaking because I'm nervous. I don't know what to expect. I don't know how the day's gonna go. I don't know if I'm gonna do good. I don't know if I'm gonna do bad. So anything to just take deep breaths and visualize, and then by the, you know, the second, third, fourth at bat, you're comfortable and you're back in your comfort zone.
Do you remember a female golfer named Annika Sorensen?
Yes.
She was the one female golfer that they said. In fact, I think she did play in a tournament or 2 against men. She was just phenomenal, and it was mind blowing what they did with her and her coaches with their visualization. She would listen to audio tapes of the golf ball going into the cup, and that click over and over and over. Really amazing.
Sometimes before games, almost like a pump up music video, I would watch me on the computer hitting home runs just to say, like, wow, this is the type of player I am. This is the type of player I could be, and just anything to restore that confidence. And it's not trying to be cocky or anything, but like those, if you watch the best guys, they're some pretty cocky guys, and it's because they have the most confidence in themselves, and that's what drives them to be successful. And in baseball, whether it's a team sport, it's very individual. It's you versus the pitcher, and it's your stats. It's not that are going to matter ultimately at the end. Yeah, it's great that your team wins and you win the championship, but it's your stats that it's always going to be you that goes on to the next level. So you got to have some confidence and cockiness in yourself. I think in this game, if you're too nice and you're too shy, I kind of think the game will kind of roll you over a little bit. And that, I'm not trying to say be cocky or whatever, but you got to have some, some confidence.
What clicked for me personally is it's a 1,000-year-old phrase, is the one pitch at a time thing. and realizing that, that that it was a mistake, or somebody beat me rather than a failure, and come back and is constantly making that adjustment and finding that success again.
Yeah, everyone has their whatever niches or their routines or what they like. Everyone's different, and whatever works for you as a kid or as a pro athlete or a college athlete, I always say stick to it and don't change a thing. So many people want to change everybody and make them who they are, but that's really not who that person is.
Well, thanks very much.
Yeah, no problem.
It was great.
Yeah.
It was great. Okay. Thanks, everybody.